and welcome back to the EFL Extra Time podcast. I'm your host, Luke Wallace, and alongside me, finally back in our studio, are Jack Cross.
Hi, Matt.
And Olly Johnson.
Hi, mate.
Olly's got his Wales top on ahead of the England-Wales game. Nervous yet?
Not really, no. Well, I'm quietly confident, to be fair, but I can imagine it might be a bit of a draw, and I think it might be a boring game.
With no Bale or Ramsey, he's still quietly confident.
Yeah. Well, top end, we just won't score. That's fine.
He's hanging on for a 0-0 already.
Yeah, that's fine.
He's got Simeone in charge.
No, I did see apparently we're going to have Ben Davies captain, which will be interesting.
Does it really affect anything?
Okay.
Apparently, so.
Anyway, Brennan, win at the weekend. Swansea picked up 3 points against Millwall. Happy days? It's right. We'll come to your one in the League 1 and 2 episode. Happy with the result of the weekend?
Yeah, very happy. I'm sort of a little bit disappointed we conceded a goal. First goal this season we conceded, but I think all round it was another good performance by Steve Cooper and his side. And I think some of the younger players are again showing their worth and showing why they should be in the starting 11. But we continue to pick up the points.
Right then, let's have a look at the results then. On Friday night, Coventry fell 3-1 at home to Bournemouth. Derby picked up their first win of the season at Carrow Road thanks to Wayne Rooney. There was a goalless draw at Ewood Park. Wycombe lost again, 2-0 this time to Luton. Neil Warnock won his 1500th game in charge of Boro, and Forest lost again, which cost Sabri Lamouchi his job. We'll come to that in a bit. Reading snuck past Watford by a 0-0. There was a draw between Rotherham and Huddersfield with a dramatic late own goal. Sheffield Wednesday and QPR were also one apiece. Swansea got past Millwall by 2 goals to 1. There was a great comeback from Preston at the Brentford Community Stadium. They ran out 4-2 winners, and Stoke and Birmingham finished one apiece in the second game on Sunday. Let's move across then to St Andrews for Coventry. Friday night football on Sky. This is a result we expect, really, isn't it? Jack, I'm going to come to you first on this one. A newly promoted side against a newly relegated side. Bournemouth's class just shone through a bit, didn't it?
Yeah, I think we would have expected a tough game as well for Coventry, but for Bournemouth as well. Obviously, they had a decent performance at home when they last played at home. They got a win, but I think the red card didn't help them either when they got that. But Bournemouth had already scored 3 at that point, so they did well to not concede anymore after that.
Yeah, will the disappointment be, though, having got level with 11 men on the pitch? John, I'm going to come to you for this one. To then concede twice before the hour mark, pretty much. Is that the most disappointing thing if you're Mark Robbins?
Yeah, potentially. I think it's just keeping on to leads and conceding goals. It's just not really that going to help any teams in this league, is it? Conceding a lot, and like I said, Swans fan, we've only conceded 1 so far, and I'm trying to keep on to that. But so I'm saying, doubling that within an hour is not great. But I think they need to sort out defensively, in my opinion. So a little bit of an issue.
Yeah. Jack, for you then, is the quality in the side shown by the amount of passes completed in the game? I mean, Bournemouth nearly had double the amount of Coventry. Does that expansive football really shine through from the Cherries?
I mean, it works. It works for them, and you'd expect them to have a lot of the ball, being probably, like we said, the bigger side with Premier League players in there still. But I don't think you can say that for all teams in the league. It doesn't define the way you should get points if you get loads of passing in the game, because everyone plays differently to get points in this league.
Yeah, I think it's important you touch on the quality in the side, because their Welsh babyface assassin David Brooks didn't even get on the pitch. He sat on the bench for the entire game. Olly's got a massive smile on his face. So it shows how much quality they've got. Let's move on then to a much needed result for Derby County. A goal from Wayne Rooney late on, the difference between them and Norwich. I mean, that could be a huge result for Philip Cocu. It could have pretty much saved his job, couldn't it, Olly?
I think you took the words out of my mouth, mate. They've had a really poor start. I think we can all agree, Derby, compared to where they probably should be and where they have been in the past couple of years. But I think Wayne Rooney, again, silencing some critics that he's too old for it. He was an absolute screamer of a free kick. We've got to give it to him, and he can still do it at a fairly high level. I personally think he could probably still play in the Prem, the quality he has. So, great player, great result, and they need to now start building on that and pick up some more points, get further up the table. Yeah,
I mean, it could have been the Prem this season again for Wayne Rooney had Derby not had such a poor start. last season. I mean, they're creatures of habit. They've done it again this year, but is it more acceptable this year because of the players they've lost?
Yeah. Like I said, there was the whole thing was at the start of last season with the car crash and like Tom Lawrence drink driving and also, Richard Keogh getting sacked. So there was a lot of things went on early on last season. So I don't really think helped them out, to be fair, with results on the pitch. So if they can sort of reevaluate the situation and get back into the swing of things, just obviously getting a good win against a really strong side in Norwich, then hopefully they can start to gather momentum in the next few games.
Yeah, definitely a messy season PR-wise for Derby last season. For Norwich now, winless in 3, a draw and 2 defeats. Jack, are they slipping back into their old ways? Have they picked up a losing mentality whilst they've come down from the Premier League?
I mean, it's always tough to come down the way they did. Bottom of the league, not winning many games. And to lose obviously last few days on the deadline, actually, when they lost Ben Godfrey to Everton, that's not helping them. So they've lost that whole left side of the defence over the transfer window, and that's obviously not going to help them when they lose them that close to the window and they haven't got time to replace them. But yeah, you'd still expect them to be up there, but they need to be careful because we've seen teams come down and struggle before.
Yeah, I mean, looking on paper, forgetting the start Derby have had to the season, but coming into this, Daniel Farke would have seen the last 2 games, Bournemouth and Derby. Bournemouth away, Derby at home. How many points would he have wanted from those games? He's picked up none, but how many would he have wanted coming into those 2 fixtures?
I think he would have wanted 6, but he would have took 4, I would have said.
Yeah, I mean, he probably would have even taken 2 rather than nothing he's come away with. I mean, the result leaves Norwich right at the wrong end of the table, down in 17th. How much further do we see them progressing this season? Top half, bottom half? Where do you think?
I think eventually they'll get going again, but I think they'll be top half. But obviously, you never know. It's still fairly early on in the season, so it'd be interesting to see how the forward line does and they start scoring some more goals.
Right, on to the next one then. Ewood Park. I've advertised this one as Lee Tomlin letting the side down. A 10-man Cardiff failed to really kick on. Lee Tomlin got himself sent off. If you're Neil Harris, I mean, you hand Lee Tomlin his first start for a while. Ollie, would you be fuming at what he's done? Because it's a stupid sending off if you've seen it.
Yeah, I know I did see it, and he doesn't need to do it. It's probably typical Lee Tomlin, to be fair. He's a bit of a loon ball, and all these comments about he's one of the best players in the Championship. Do you class that as a inspirational thing for young kids to watch? It's not good enough. And I think just Cardiff in general, you can say the red card was fairly late on, but they didn't have a lot of the ball, and they didn't have a lot really going for them in the game. Keith Moore didn't really get a look in all games, so they couldn't really find a way through Blackburn, who have started well, to be fair. So I think we'd probably look at it more on a disappointing fact for Rovers, to be fair, in this game. Just was it 9 goals in the previous 2 games or whatever? It's something stupid like that. So you'd have thought they would have been able to put a couple against this lot. So
yeah, Jack, looking at the stats, 16 shots for each side, 6 on target for Blackburn, 5 on target for Cardiff. If you're Tony Mowbray, you disappointed with your side playing against 10 men for 25 minutes, or are you more impressed with the way Cardiff held on?
I mean, obviously, people say it's harder to play against 10 men sometimes, and they put loads of men behind the ball, but I think after the last couple of games Blackburn have had scoring all those goals, Tony Mowbray would have wanted them to kick on in those last 20 minutes and try and push for a goal like I'd expect most sides would do playing against 10 men.
Yeah, I mean, the result leaves Cardiff down in 16th. They haven't really moved, but loss and defeat in their last 2, only 1 win on the board. Ollie, are you concerned if you're Neil Harris yet?
I said, when he came in last season, he did a really good job because they were in a similar position as to what they are now, not where they should be. And he came in and did really well, got into the playoffs, etc. Didn't quite work out, but you could say he did a good job last season. It just hasn't gone well, for whatever reason. I don't know if the whole Mendes-Lang thing or what, but whether they haven't invested in the right players or they've let the wrong players go, but it hasn't really worked for him, so I'm not sure he's going to last much longer in a job, because I think the club like Cardiff need to be sort of top end of the Championship, if not pushing for promotion. So I think he needs to get there and get a few results quickly, otherwise he might be in trouble.
Yeah, and a poor start to last season cost Neil Warnock his job, even though I think he went with his own steam. So it'd be interesting to see what Vincent Tan does this time around. But let's head off to Kenilworth Road then. Another week, another defeat for Wycombe. 4 on the bounce now. This time they were bested 2-0 by Luton. I mean, if you're Gareth Ainsworth, are you massively disappointed by this one? Because this could have been a game you could have got at least a point out of.
Yeah, definitely. But likewise, Luton have had a very good start, probably a better start than we all thought they would have done. If we're perfectly honest, I think when we did our pre-season podcast, I think we all predicted Luton to be struggling. But I think I said, I'd love to see them have another go at it, but I didn't expect to see these sort of performances. Likewise for Gareth Ainsworth, we said it before, I don't think this style of football will do a lot in the Championship, and we said they might get relegated without winning the game. I can honestly see that happening, because it's just not, especially if they're going to play that holding up football, if they're going to play it up front and hold it. Akinfenwal's not even playing at the minute because he's injured, so it's not like they've got a solid striker that can do that well. And it's not like they're going to sack him either. He's been there long enough, and they've got him to this position. They're not going to sack him after a couple of months because it's not going well. They'll rely on him still, but it's not going to go well. I still don't think it will.
Yeah, Jack, Luton fans were asked at the start of the season where their hopeful finish would be, and they came up with 10th. Is that achievable, given what we've seen from this start from then?
It's definitely achievable for any team to finish anywhere in the league. I mean, the start they've shown, they can definitely push up there, but I always feel like they'll probably drop off at some point. But the momentum they've shown since the end of last season, when Nathan Jones came in, brought into this season, it's going well so far, and yeah, they can definitely finish up there.
Ollie, one shot on target for Wycombe. Just under, a few days left now, the domestic transfer window. Do they need to bring a striker in, a creative midfielder? What does Gareth Ainsworth need to try and keep his side in the division?
Yeah, I think you do, and I think they need to probably look at maybe some Premier League clubs and loan some players in that aren't getting games, because it's gone absolutely awfully for the start of the season. I don't think anybody predicted it to be this bad, but the way they're playing, and just we played them the other week and they just didn't have a look in most of the game, so it's just not good enough at the minute, and I really see them struggling.
Yeah, well, they come to the Matchday in a couple of games' time, so expect them to pick up 3 points then. It'll be just our luck after this nice little run. On to the Riverside, though. In Gerhard Struber's final game, he lost 2-1 to Middlesbrough in Neil Warnock's anniversary game. His 1500th game mark with a win. Quite appropriate, isn't it, Jack?
Yeah, back in the dugout for him as well, wasn't he? Back on his record game. Good win for him. Obviously, Akpom getting to a goal again after on his debut last week at QPR, got a goal. Big confidence for him. He's obviously building a decent team, Neil Warnock, and like we say, he normally takes a full season to get his teams going, and you never know where Boro are going to finish.
Yeah, now into the top half and into the top 10. For Barnsley, I mean, obviously Gerhard Struber's now gone, but would he have been disappointed with a goal in the second minute of injury time in the first half, and then a goal within 3 minutes of the restart, Ollie?
No, it's not. I mean, it's not ideal times to concede goals. I think if you're on the attacking team, best time is just before half time, going with the lead, and then to come out straight back is a perfect opportunity there for Middlesbrough. So was probably just a bit of lack of composure, both in both areas. So yeah, it's something they obviously need to work on, but it's early days. So I think that can be sorted out.
Yeah, I mean, 6 bookings for Boro. Jack, on paper it looks like a typical hard-fought Warnock victory, doesn't it?
Yeah, I didn't even realise there was that many bookings. The goalkeeper getting booked as well. As obviously some time wasting going on at the end there. Yeah, but do whatever you got to do to get the win, and Neil Warnock's definitely good at that.
Yeah, let's talk Barnsley then a little more in depth. One of your Yorkshire clubs, Jack. Obviously, Gerhard Struber's gone after 11 months in charge. Won 14 of his 39 games, but most importantly, kept the side in the division. Ollie, how much are they going to miss him, do you think?
I think, the whole thing, everything with last season, I think they basically stayed up on the technicality. So to say he probably did a good job would be a bit of an exaggeration, if we're honest.
Because I'm pretty sure they were bottom or 23rd when he took over, and had only won on the opening day.
I was going to say they were pretty much bottom on the last day. To be fair, I think they started the last day bottom, and then everything went.
I don't think they did.
They weren't far off.
I think we were bottom.
Yeah,
they stayed up on a technicality of us winning one of the 20 games and Wigan getting a points deduction.
I know, but I think the whole thing was, it pretty much was a technicality, wasn't it? So, to say he did a good job, there'd probably be an exaggeration. The fact he's gone now is probably the right decision.
They would have gone down if Wigan didn't have a points deduction.
Yeah, I mean, he joins New York Red Bulls over in America, obviously. For a significant contractual release fee, is that good for Barnsley, or is it too little too late because the international transfer window is already slammed shut?
I mean, I don't know who they're going to bring in. I don't know who's been linked to the job. Only yesterday or the day before that he announced that he'd left. I don't know who would bring in, but yeah, it's obviously when the new manager comes in, he has to wait till January to get any of his players he wants in, because it's a totally different squad to what he wants.
Yeah, first manager to go beat Sabri Lamouchi out the door by a couple of hours. We'll talk about him in a minute. He came out in the press after the game and said that he wasn't happy over the owner's lack of ambition at the club. So let's talk managers that are going to go in there then. I mean, I've put up on the slide Paul Cook, Hans Wolf, David Wagner, Paul Tisdale, Adam Murray, who's in caretaker charge, Danny Cowley, Nigel Adkins, who obviously me and Jack have had experience with, and Steve Cottrell. Any of those take your fancy, Jack?
Well, obviously we know Nigel Adkins is a decent manager. I don't know if he'll want to take on that job or not. It's been a while a year and a bit since he left Hull, so yeah, he'd always do a decent job at the club. I think they'd definitely keep them up, but I feel like it's definitely a Steve Cottrell sort of job, innit? When he went into Birmingham, they didn't have a very good start, and then that didn't really go that well, really. But yeah, it'd be interesting. See who they bring in. Probably maybe another foreigner that we didn't really know. Like, we didn't know who Struber was when he came in, and he did a okay job, obviously keeping them up on technicality, like we said.
Yeah, Ollie, I'll fire this question at you. Do you think they'll go for someone different like Hans Wolf or David Wagner or even Paul Tisdale, who we've seen in League 1 and 2, plays a nice brand of football?
I don't know. Maybe that's what they need, is better football, because they just struggled, haven't they? So I don't know, it'd be a difficult one to say, I think. But I think you're probably about right. I think maybe with one of them selections.
Yeah, obviously David Wagner, formerly at Huddersfield. Hans Wolf is a former Borussia Dortmund academy coach and was also at Stuttgart, among other places. Other names, I guess, Mark Bowen, Eddie Howe, Nigel Pearson, Jack. Any of those, or do you think they're just a little bit out of Barnsley's reach?
I don't think Eddie Howe will go. I don't think he'd leave Bournemouth to go to Barnsley. Obviously, he'd already left Bournemouth, but you know what I mean. Nigel Pearson, I don't know if they'd want that sort of character in the club, maybe. But obviously, he did a decent job at Watford when he came in. Nigel Pearson might be looking at another Prem job, like similar to Watford was last year, for his next job. But yeah, you never know. It's a bit early to see who they're going to get in. We all thought Chris Hughton was going to end up at Bristol City, and he didn't in the end, so you never know.
Yeah, looking for their fifth manager in 3 years. Struber, Daniel Stendel, Jose Moraes and Paul Heckingbottom being the previous four. So let's take a name from you each. Ollie, I'll start with you. Who's going to take the Barnsley job?
Mick McCarthy.
Mick McCarthy. You like Mick McCarthy. You suggest him for a fair few jobs. Jack, what about you?
We'll go Steve Cottrell. He can go in and go in and do a job there.
Interesting. Not seen him around for a while since I think his spell at Birmingham. But let's move on to another game that was a manager's last at a club. Nottingham Forest lost 2-1 at home to Bristol City. Forest looked like they're in trouble, but looking at the stats, 20 shots, 6 on target. Daniel Bentley pulling off saves left, right and centre if you've seen the highlights. This isn't a side that weren't playing for their manager. They were still giving it their all. It just wasn't coming off. Olly, I'll come to you with that.
Well, I think they're just rubbish, mate, personally. Mate, there's no way, right, a team that should have got the playoffs, right, can lose 4 in a row and be almost rock bottom of the Championship, other than the fact that Wycombe haven't started well. They weren't good for most of the last season, but for the back end of last season, and Sabri Lamouchi. So did we expect much more from this season? Personally, I really didn't.
I expected a better start than what they have.
I didn't expect anything. I expected this, to be fair. They really were awful back end of last season.
I know, but you still expect a short pre-season. You still expect them to start a lot better. Obviously, I didn't think
You'd have thought they would have come out and given it a go, but they haven't, have they?
No, but like Luke just said, they look like a team that was still playing for Lamouchi, but it's obviously just can't get that goals they need to win the games. But yeah, obviously they need to improve quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure, I thought you were going to take that really personally then. When Jack disagreed with you, you turn around your chair, I was thinking, oh God, here we go. For Bristol City, it's another win. It keeps them top of the table. Dean Holden's just keeping his head down and doing the job that's asked of him, isn't he? He's taken the streak out of Bristol City and suddenly they're top of the league. Well,
that was an interesting one, obviously, being Lee Johnson's assistant and already being at the club. I think you probably would have thought the style of football would have been the same. But they're just playing a lot better, a lot more attacking, a lot more dominative, to be fair, mate. So, yeah, fair play to them. They're doing well, and the way they're going, they could probably stay there.
I hope not. Hopefully Reading and Swansea will get ahead of them by May. Sorry, Bristol City fans, that's all you're getting today because Lamouchi's gone. 15 months in charge. He had to fly out, I think it was to Athens in the summer to meet the owner, Manikis, I think his name is, to plead for his job effectively, and they backed him. They brought in 13 players. They stuck with him. What was the point of it? We know how short and sharp he is. Would it not have been easier to give a new manager a summer to bring in his own players?
Yeah, I think it's a bit mad to bring in 13 players to give them 4 games to try and have a decent start. Obviously, like Olly said, they haven't had a very good start since the end of last season when they had a poor run-in, but you can't say to your manager you're going to back him, bring in 13 players and just get rid of him after 4 games. 13 players aren't going to gel and start performing that quick. They need to give them time, but yeah, I think I agree with you. We probably would have been best just bringing someone new and let them bring in their 13 players and try and build a different side.
Yeah, first Forest manager to see out a full season for 9 years, so it's something we've come to expect from the club. But leading them to their highest finish since 2010-11, Olly, does that not deserve him more time, despite the poor end of the season?
I don't know. I don't even know if we could say he led them to it, because it was probably more the manager previously that did the hard work.
What, Martin O'Neill?
I reckon so.
What, last summer, do you reckon?
Yeah, but think how good they were for most of last season that got them there. And then when Lamouchi came in, it just sort of went down, and obviously the whole shenanigans on the last day just, I think, maybe ruined the mentality of the squad.
So, basically, Swansea got him sacked.
I think Reading got him sacked because they were in a really rich run of form and grinded out 2 results against us and conceded in the 97th minute. If they hadn't done that, they'd have been in the playoffs. Then we lost 4-1 to you to get you into the playoffs. So Reading run this league.
So you got them in by losing 4-1.
Yes.
Yeah, we talk about...
Yes, we're our quality outfit last season.
We talk about hangovers of football teams. I think it's probably one of the massive ones they've probably been for a long time. And I think maybe Huddersfield, Sunderland over the past few years, maybe. But you're talking a team that probably should have solidified their playoff spot probably in April, and then completely bottled it, and it's just fallen into this season with the poor start they've had. So
they should have solidified it around when Fulham did.
It was easily should have.
Well, with 8 games to go, they were still with an outside chance of an automatic promotion. spot if things went their way. Like, what do they need? 3 points in their final 5 games or something, and picked up 2. So, I mean, I can see where Ollie's coming from. Failed to win any of his last 11 in charge. There you go. There's the stat for it. Last year it took him 14 minutes to replace Martin ONeill with Sabri Lamouchi. This year it took him half an hour to find Chris Hughton. Glad to see him back.
Yeah, obviously. We thought he would have had a job a lot sooner after what he did at Brighton, but I think he can definitely... I don't think it'll take a year or so, but you can definitely see them getting them pushing up towards the playoffs and obviously Premier League push, but yeah, definitely. They would have definitely been speaking to him a while before. They were probably speaking to him when Lamouchi went to speak to the owners, to be honest, to then give Lamouchi a bit of time, but yeah, it's good to see him back in and should do a decent job.
Ollie, do you still see Nottingham Forest as a sleeping giant of English football? Because, let's be honest, since Cloughy left, they've barely had top-flight football. I think it's 1 to 2 seasons.
Yeah, no, they sort of had that brief period after, like a few years after, then they went back up. But yeah, other than that, they've been down to League One since then, haven't they? So, not really. I think Chris Hughton is probably a good addition to the club. I think he's a man who can get things done. And I think Jackson will probably take a bit of time, but I think he's probably a manager that could probably take them up to the Premier League should they find their feet a bit.
I mean, yeah, time is of the essence because he got that at Brighton. I remember he changed from a possession-based style football to the type Brighton kind of play now. But time isn't what you get in Nottingham Forest. So is this a bit of a risk from Chris Hughton? Because let's not forget he's the master of harsh sackings. I mean, at Norwich he got him up and then got sacked once they were in the middle of the relegation battle. At Newcastle he got him up and then got sacked. At Birmingham, I think it was, he had him in the playoffs and then got sacked. So is he taking a big risk with this job?
It's definitely a risk, yeah. Like you said, the owners, Lamouchi was the first to get a full season now in however many years. But but like we say, he's known for getting teams up and he can definitely keep teams in the Premier like he proved at Brighton. But I feel like he'll be a similar style to what he's played before. Obviously, he'll be maybe getting a bit more attacking. I've seen the last few days he's been literally trying to get Anthony Knockaert in from Fulham, because obviously they can still do transfers with Premier League teams, so that might be something he's looking at to bring a few in before the deadline. So you never know, probably I can imagine him turning the team around and then pushing up the table a little bit.
Anthony Knockaert might as well return to the Championship a couple of months before Fulham do with the way they've started the season. Let's move on to the Medeski then. A tight 1-0 win for Reading thanks to a George Puskas goal. I mean, for me, George Puskas stepped up. Lucas João is out injured and Puskas didn't really deliver last season. So in this game he needed a goal in the chance he's been given. So I'm relatively happy. Are you? Ollie, you're nodding your head with me.
That's fair enough. Like I keep saying it, mate. Do you think it's going to be like one of your seasons that you end up there and bottle it?
Oh, thanks. Thanks.
No, I'm just looking at the Watford team that played. Some of them a lot of them played. Were in that Premier League side. So it's a good win, mate. To be fair, Ben Foster's probably the best goalkeeper in the Championship, and really good win. But that was probably a team who were going to give you one of the toughest games. So. Yeah, fair play to. Got 3 points.
Yeah, looking at it, Foster, Cathcart, Kabasele, Wilmot and Gakia, James Garner, who's on loan from Manchester United, he's had a bit of experience with them. Nathaniel Chalabar, Kiko Femenia, Ismaila Sarr, João Pedro, all played in the Premier League. Does that show, Jack, that Reading might have turned a corner this season? Obviously, we saw the upturn under Mark Bowen. I think I've seen an upturn, but do you believe in it as much as I do, or are you going to bring me back down to reality?
No, I mean, obviously Matt Bowen had a decent season with you last season. Didn't quite push up into as close to the playoffs. Well, you didn't really want playoffs, did you, last year?
You would have taken top half, though.
Yeah, top half he was getting closer to, but Velker, do you call him Velker? Sounds like Velcro.
Yeah, Velcro or Pauno.
Pauno. He's come in, done a decent job, but when he first got appointed, we said we think he'll either be the first to be sacked or have a really good season. So it's looking like the really good season option, but you never know. I don't like Ollie said. Do you think you'll have a real good season and bottle it, or do you think you'll have a real good season and bottle it, or just like win every game?
If we had another 106 season, it would be the best. But can I see it happening with how competitive the division is? No, not a chance. I can't take another Wembley defeat. I really can't. After Swansea, Huddersfield and Arsenal in the FA Cup semi-final, which are all games we could have won, I would take anything but playoffs, honestly. I'll take 7th, as long as it means we don't have to go through the playoff.
We're so unambitious.
Because if we're going off that one, you're flipping rubbish against us. So
yeah, but we had you. We were battering you in the second half until Karacan hit the post with that Gary Monk deflection, and then the game changed again, didn't it? You were on the back foot.
You did concede 4 though.
Yeah, but we had Kishnishvili in defence. Like, that was expected.
Wembley was like our second home for a few years.
Yeah, all right. Everyone's had success at Wembley except me.
Yeah, it was like us when we started winning all the Mickey Mouse trophies back like 15 years ago. With all the Millennium, to be fair, we were always that was when they were renovating the new Wembley, or building it rather.
Yeah, so just keep rubbing it in. Keep rubbing it in, boys. That's fine. For Watford, I mean, having watched the game, they're scary when they come forward. The way they move the ball and how quickly they come forward it'll frighten a lot of teams. Are we still expecting them to push for automatic promotion?
Yeah, and I still think should Troy Deeney start playing, he'll only add to that. Because I said he's got the quality potentially of a Premier League striker, but the physicality that's more than needed in the Championship. Because it is a much more physical league, and maybe that's why teams struggle and they go up. So, yeah, the team can only get better from here, I think. So, I'd certainly expect them to be at least in the playoffs.
All right, let's move on then to the New York Stadium. Rotherham 1, Huddersfield 1, thanks to a 96th minute own goal from Angus MacDonald. Have you boys seen this own goal?
No, I haven't. I will be watching.
I felt quite sorry for Angus as well, to be fair.
I'm not sure whether does he go to clear it, or does it just ping straight off him?
I think
it looks like he moves towards the ball.
I think he goes to just like ping it out, but I think it's hit a shin pad, isn't it?
Because it comes at him at quite a speed as well.
It hits a shin pad and just pings in, and to be that late into the game as well, it's just Huddersfield were pushing to get the equaliser, and it looks like they were fairly dominant in the game, but it's very unfortunate. And I think Angus MacDonald's had a decent start to his Rotherham career after obviously everything he went through at Hull. So it's good to see him playing again, but that was unfortunate for him.
And former Reading Academy player as well, Angus MacDonald. But you say that about Huddersfield. I mean, 73% of the ball, Ollie, coming to you with this one, but just one shot on target. I mean, we say this week in, week out, but it's another team with all the ball and doing sod all with it.
In typical Huddersfield, I don't think they've got the quality anymore. It's not like when they got promoted and they had certain players, you could think you could get them over the line maybe. Maybe when they had Aaron Moy, that was probably about as good quality as they were going to get. But not a lot really at the minute. So, unfortunate. But I always say, probably one of the biggest mistakes Huddersfield had was not signing Danny Ward on a permanent when they got promoted, because he probably single-handedly got them up that season. The amount of saves he made, probably the best goalkeeper in the Championship that season. So, maybe they might have still been in the Prem. Potentially is a big shout, but they probably would have made a couple more clean sheets than that. But even now, though, a player who's not even playing, maybe he'd be a good addition. But talking about quality outfield, then I'm not sure they've got it to potentially get them goals that are going to keep them in the Championship, because I think they might struggle again. They might be one of them teams. Yeah,
I mean, even keeping Jonas Lörsel, who was there in Huddersfield's first season, would have been better. But I mean, Ben Hamer in goal now. I mean, he's got his work cut out. But I mean, even Carlan Grant, everything's gone quiet on that. Transfer speculations died down. I'm assuming he's injured because he's not involved in any of the matchday squads. And like you said, Aaron Moy's gone. I mean, you've got Fraser Campbell up front, and Jack, as you well know, that's a pretty limited option. I mean, for Huddersfield fans, I mean, this is the result you're going to come to expect, isn't it, this season? You're going to be, I mean, if I give you 18th now, I think you should take it. Am I wrong?
Yeah, obviously they'll take it, but I think they were hoping to have like a readiness start with a new manager coming in. You're loving that we're like talk about Reading. So
after slating me when we were talking about him, now we're hyping them up again.
No, it's just a few Yorkshire clubs as well.
Yeah, 2 Yorkshire clubs in there. yeah, they definitely take 18th, but obviously they'll be aiming to have a. I think they're sort of just implementing his style of play, like get a season under his belt. But yeah, Fraser Campbell, going back to that, he's been playing well the last few weeks, and
Well, you say that he scored one goal, a good goal, albeit.
yeah, but
it was like his first goal since December.
Yeah, but his performances have been better recently.
But he's a striker. Strikers get judged on goals. It's not a postcard business. It's a score.
I know,
card
but
business.
he assisted our first trip to Wembley, first Premier League year, so you got to let him off.
That's your title.
That Olly was all right.
Mate,
What is that accent?
Mate, that's your title here, though.
What is it?
It's not a postcard business.
It's not postcard business. There we go. Happy days. Right, 1-1 draw against two teams we're expecting to finish close to each other. Let's move on to Hillsborough. Another point for Sheffield Wednesday as they look to get back to 0 points. But it could have been 3. I mean, if you're Gary Monk, you're looking at 2 points dropped, aren't you, Ollie?
Oh yeah, 96th minute equaliser. I mean, you're absolutely devastated. And and like I said, I was very big on slating Gary Monk pre-season, but the job he's trying to do under the circumstances, I think, is very good. But yeah, very disappointed with that, mate. But the way they played, the chances they had, they're still doing it. The heads aren't down, so yeah, they could still come out of trouble. And I think probably sooner rather than later they'll pass Wycombe.
Yeah, Macaulay Bonne with a goal on his debut, then having signed late in the day from Charlton. Jack, is this a good signing or a signing from League One? Does that show a lack of ambition from QPR rather than luring someone in from a bottom half Premier League side?
I don't know, but obviously sometimes you get a decent player from League One or lower. Ollie Watkins came into Brentford from Exeter and he went on to do big things. So you never know, he might kick on. He's obviously got a goal on his debut. Happy to see that we can Charlton a little bit. So yeah, hopefully he does well. But yeah, Sheffield Wednesday obviously be disappointed to drop those 2 points. But like Ollie said, yeah, you can see him kicking on and getting past Wycombe fairly quickly.
Ollie, does this show a level of strength from QPR to keep going up until the final whistle? Because most teams at 90+6 think that's it. One shot over the bar goes and you think that's our chance gone.
Yeah, and I think it works both ways as well. Maybe it's a bit of Gary Monk's side, a bit of complacency and a lack of composure in the final minutes, which is something that we struggled with last year. So it's it's the whole saying that it's not over till the fat lady sings, mate, and they've got to keep it till final whistle, because that's why things like that happen, and it does happen very flipping regularly in the Championship as well.
Especially if you're a Swansea fan.
Exactly, mate. It's just you've got to be on the ball. So bit of both, mate. But yeah, I think maybe QPR will go on one of their runs where they win a few games off the back of that, because it surely will do them the world of good in the dressing room.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about your side then. Swansea 2, Millwall 1. I mean, you took the lead and were pegged back pretty quickly. 5 minutes between the first 2 goals. Will that be the main disappointment from you for this?
Yeah, that was more of a goalkeeper mistake, to be fair. I don't know if any of you have seen the highlights, but it's a shot he should have saved. And I think the only issue with that was, Stephen Bender, first game for the Swans, having been on loan at Swindon last year, so due to Woodman being out injured for whatever reason. So I think we probably could have kept a clean sheet had he played. Not slating Bender, he made some really good saves as well that game. So a little bit disappointed we've conceded, because I was hoping to continue the run of games. It's not very often that we don't concede, especially start of the season. Certainly something we struggled with last year, but maybe that might be the difference. Because I think surely by now we would have conceded a few later ones, but we seem to be continuing to play right to the end of the game, and I think it probably should tell you everything that 2 defenders scored our goals as well, so playing quite high up.
Yeah, you say that. Jake Bidwell was first guy in 45 appearances. Glad to see him finally get off the mark.
He's really come into his own this season. He was a bit on and off last year. He did play well in parts, but also he had silly sendings off and didn't have quite the games he should have done. But I know we played it last year, but we're playing the 5 at the back with wing backs and going down that left channel. He's unreal. And he's putting some really good balls in. I think he's put it through to Ayew against Wycombe last week as well. So he's looking really, really dangerous down that left side.
Yeah, I mean, two teams were expecting to be pretty close to each other come the end of the season. Jack, Millwall's first league defeat of the campaign. Is this coming at completely the wrong time, just as you head into the international breaks? The squad have got time to mull it over and get a bit depressed about it.
Yeah, I mean, or you can look at it the other way. They've got time to prepare for the next game, and they've got time to get over it instead of having that negative mentality of the loss going into a game quite quick after it. But yeah, they'll be disappointed to have lost their first game, but they've had a fairly solid start to the season. I think probably would have took it from what they've seen. But yeah, probably a good job Swansea have had defenders scoring goals, especially since Gerhard looks to be on the way out.
He's not happy about that one. Ollie, you do slip to fourth with this result, but 10 points from a possible 12. Happy going into the international break?
And I think it's this thing I've said pretty much on every podcast we've had, the way we've played as well. You know, the fact that we haven't conceded any goals or any stupid late ones is quite pleasing to see. But yeah, like I said, the way we're playing seems to be very good. We've dominated the teams we've played, if you'd like. But even when we played Birmingham, we had the better of the chances and the better of the game. So even only getting a 0-0 draw at home. So yeah, very pleased now going into international break. Hopefully the players that have gone to play for the respective nations can stay fit, and then we'll get straight back into it next round.
Yeah, let's move on then to the Brentford Community Stadium. Brentford raced into a 2-goal lead thanks to Ivan Toney, only then to go on to lose 4-2. I mean, for me and Ollie, Scott Sinclair scoring multiple goals in his 4-2 win is a regular scoreline, as he likes to remind me. I mean, for Brentford, it can't get any more diabolical than this season, can it? Jack, I'll come to you with that one.
Yeah, I was seeing the notifications come through, and I thought Ivan Toney's had a decent game this game, decent start to his championship season. I just saw all these goals just pinging in. What's happened? And I didn't expect them to capitulate like they did. And fair play to Preston. I mean, it's difficult to come back from 2 goals, especially in the championship. But yeah, Brentford will be very disappointed with it.
Yeah, 7 shots on target, 4 goals. Does the blame lay at the feet of the defenders, Ollie?
Yeah, but I also think it's the whole sort of mental hangover of last season again. You know, Ollie Watkins has obviously gone. Ben Rama's coming off the bench and being a bit of a part player. You know, it's not the same. Like I said, you know, it's not the same team in depth. Certainly not the same team mentality they had for most of last season. I think, you know, for a team that were, you know, a couple of points away from automatic promotion on the last day to then losing the playoff final and then losing your best players, and it can't have done any good for them. So like I said, you know, I'm not sure they're going to be anywhere near where they were this time next year.
Yeah, on a more positive note for Preston, their first win of the season, just as they go into the international break, so almost the opposite from the last game, Jack. For Alex Neil's side, this is perfect for them, isn't it? A chance to turn a corner after a bad start.
Yeah, like you say, opposite to the last one, it could be opposite to what I said. It could be when you win a game, you want it, especially the way they did, you want another one fairly quick after it, and to have a couple of week break, they could come back a different team, and they've had other teams who had time to prepare. But yeah, like you say, it could work the other way. They could kick on from here, and they'll be happy to get the win on the board.
Yeah, more time to scout Preston and work out what their cheat codes are. Right, on to the final game of the weekend then. Stoke City versus Birmingham, a 1-1 draw. Nick Powell poaches a point in the final minutes. 86th minute goal for a point. But again, 65% of the ball for Stoke, Ollie, but still can only come away with 1 goal from it. I mean, if you're Michael ONeill, are you disappointed or are you relieved to get a point?
I think probably when they scored, a bit relieved. I mean, you know, to have had all the possession and not come away with anything before they scored would have been very disappointing. But yeah, I think more relieved from Michael ONeill. But talking about Nick Powell, you know, somebody who probably had a bit of doubt on his career about 10 years ago when he went to Man United and from Crewe, which is a big step up. You know, he's certainly seemed to find his feet in the Championship the past couple of years.
Yeah, for Birmingham, I mean, took the lead just after the hour mark. Jack, will they be disappointed not to hold on? I mean, they only had the one shot on target, but sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, but looks like they've sort of nicked a goal, and Stoke have been just on top of them since the goal. And unlike a game we was on about earlier, obviously Stoke have managed to get the equaliser, and probably looks. Well, I say it probably looks deserved from the stats, both of them only having one shot on target. So it looks like the ball's just sort of been in midfield a lot of the time and Stoke have been passing about. But yeah, Birmingham will be disappointed not to hold on, but Stoke will be delighted to nick a point.
Yeah, I mean, one shot on target each, but then at that point, would you expect clean sheets from your goalkeepers?
Yeah, you probably would. Obviously, them only having the one shot on target, you'd expect them to save that shot. But again, you could go down to clinical finishing as well. I don't think that's really known with Harley Dean. But yeah, obviously they'll take the point and move on from there.
Okay, on to the table then. Bristol City and Reading lead the way in the automatic promotion spot. 12 points from 12, both matched on goal difference. They're ahead of Bournemouth, who jumped just ahead of Swansea, both with 10 points and +4 goal difference. Rounding out the playoff places are Luton on 9 points and Blackburn just behind them in the final playoff place. They edge out Watford, who of course lost at the weekend, and Birmingham. Rounding out the top half, QPR move up 2 into 9th. Middlesbrough, the big winners this week, gaining 8 places to move into 10th. Millwall in 11th, and Rotherham hold on in the top half to 12th. Bottom half starts with Stoke in 13th, ahead of Brentford, Preston and Cardiff, the latter of which did not move a place this week. They're ahead of Norwich, Coventry, Huddersfield and Derby. That win for Derby lifting them out of the relegation zone. And finally, Gerhard Struber leaves Barnsley in 21st, but with a point on the board. They're ahead of Forest and Wycombe, who are pointless, and Sheffield Wednesday, who are on -7 points. That's it for the Championship. Next up is the League 1 and 2 preview. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.